Hey guys, so tonight I have a different type of a video for you guys. I'm just going to be talking. I wanted to fill you all in on my health journey and a little bit of what I've been hinting towards in some of my videos. I know I've talked about my stomach being upset, having to deal with my stomach, things like that in a few videos, and I figured I might as well fill you all in on what really is happening and what's been going on with me. So I do have my notes here. I have quite a few just so that I can keep myself my thoughts together and everything like that, because this is a hard topic for me to talk about. It's been going on for almost actually over 2 years now, so it's been something that I've been struggling with for a very long time, and it's hard to put it out there in the universe. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys, this is just my journey. This is not advice on what you should do if you're feeling ill, or if you have any of these symptoms, or if you have something that you're dealing with. Don't listen to me. I'm not a professional. These are just the things that I'm doing, that I've spoken with my doctors about, and that are working for me. I just wanted to fill you guys in on some of my symptoms, what's going on, what are the possibilities that it could be, because we don't have a diagnosis yet. That is one of the frustrating things about what I'm going through. We have no clue what it is yet. We've ruled out a bunch of things, and they have a strong idea on something, which I'm going to talk to you guys about, but they don't have any direct answers for me yet as far as what it is. And going on the third year, it's really hard to not have any answers. It's very frustrating to try to go through, and it's very hard. It's very disheartening to not have any answers, because it's hard to go forward with it's like you're just going into the unknown. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like I'm in limbo, waiting to hear, like, what is it? What do I have? Is it something terrible? Is it something that's treatable? Is it, I don't know. It's very up in the air right now, which is very scary. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it and let you guys know how long. So I've been really sick for over 2 years now. 2 years ago, I had my gallbladder removed because I had gallstones, and we thought that that was what was causing me to be so sick. So I had my gallbladder removed, and for a couple of weeks, I felt really good. When I was recouping from the gallbladder surgery, I felt really good, but that only lasted for a couple of weeks, and then I went back to feeling the exact same way that I felt before I had the surgery. So we realized that it wasn't gallstones that was causing it, and those were just something that I had in addition to whatever I have now. So we started doing tons of tests. And at the beginning, I had Medi-Cal, and I really did like my doctors, and I really did enjoy the services when I just had small health concerns. But I felt like when they got a little bit bigger and things got a little bit harder to manage, and we were doing tests, the tests were really stretched out, and we really weren't coming up with any answers or anything. So a year and a half, maybe a little over that into it, I got private insurance and got back in with some different specialists, and have finally started to get a few answers. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys what my symptoms are. I have them all written down here, so if I go look down, I'm really sorry. It's a lot. So I do have muscle weakness and fatigue. I have weight loss and a decreased appetite. I've lost over 50 pounds from this. And I have hyperpigmentation and darkening of the skin. I have it on my face, on my chest, and I have a low blood pressure. I have salt craving. I'm craving salt more than anything else, and I've never had that before. I'm always a sweets girl. I have low blood sugar. I have nausea and vomiting. At least 5 to 6 times a week, I get really sick. I always feel like I'm seasick. Even when I'm not vomiting, I feel like I'm seasick. I always feel like I have a little bit of motion sickness problem. And it's usually with me about like 85 to 90% of the day. I just deal with it now. I'm on some pretty heavy duty nausea medication now, and I just kind of deal with it and go about my life. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of how I've been able to do that. And it wasn't always that way. I wasn't always able to go with it. But I also suffer from muscle and joint pain. Irritability, of course. When you're feeling your worst, it's very hard to be nice and positive and upbeat. Depression, again, when you're feeling really sick, it's very hard. I did do a video on how I cope and deal with my depression, and that is in my playlist if you wanted to go refer back to that on ways to help you with that. But I also have increased thirst and dry mouth, which is why you'll sometimes hear me slurring my words and getting my words caught in my mouth. It's not because I can't get them out. It's because I literally cannot get them out. My mouth just gets so dry. So I have my water here just because this is a very talky video, so I figured I'm probably gonna need some water. So those are my symptoms. Now, they all add up to looking like something. They all add up to looking like Addison's disease. And I have been tested for Addison's twice. The first time it was positive, the second time it was negative, and now I'm asking for a third test because I feel like you get one negative, one positive, it's still very up in the air. So I'm gonna get one more test, best out of 3, I suppose. I mean, I guess that's how it is, but I mean, if I get a yes, then at least we know. And if I get a no, then at least we know too that it's not it. But right now we're just kind of in limbo and it could be it, you know? So I'm gonna go ahead and first tell you guys the tests that I have done in the past 2 years, and then we'll go into a little bit more about Addison's in detail. So the tests that I have done have been, of course, the gallbladder removal. That was a little over 2 years ago now. I have had multiple blood panels done. I have had overall physicals done, about 3 of those done in the 2 years. I've had an endoscopy. I've had ultrasounds in my abdomen, my pelvis, and my thyroids. I have had a gastric emptying study, which is this test where you have to take eggs with dye. You have to eat eggs with dye and a piece of bread, and then they watch how it goes through your system and if you are digesting your food slower than normal. You know, because that could cause the nausea and vomiting. So are you doing that, you know? No, my stomach, it does it a little bit slower than normal, but it's not enough to cause this feeling that I have all the time. So what is coming up for me in the next couple of weeks is a colonoscopy and a ultrasound with contrast dye so that they can see a little bit clearer. We haven't done one of those yet. Sorry, just one more second. So when we're talking about Addison's disease, it's a disorder where the body produces insufficient amounts of hormones produced by the adrenal glands. So this is just from doctors that I'm spewing this information from about Addison's disease. I really, you know, I'm in layman's terms, I don't know much about it, but so I'm just going to try to explain it as best as I can. I've just done some research on it because that's what they think it might be. So of course we've been very eager to learn a little bit about it. The adrenal glands sit at the top of your kidneys and they produce cortisol and aldosterone. Now those are the hormones that affect your mood, your metabolism, your tissue function, and how your body responds to stress. So those 2 hormones do quite a few things. So it could be this. I mean, literally every single one of my symptoms checks off for Addison's disease. But like I said, my second test was negative, so they're thinking that it might not be that. So I am going to go back to the endocrinologist and have that checked. I will for sure update you guys. But now I want to kind of go into a little bit of what it's like living with a chronic illness and how I cope with that. How do I do my day-to-day? How did I manage to kind of get out of the wanting to just stay at home all the time in the darkness and live my life just being sick? Who cares if you're sick? Just go out and live your life. That's kind of the motto that I'm living by right now. But it is hard, and there are days that I cannot do that are physically impossible for me to do that. There are days that I'm just too sick to do anything, and I do let myself have those days because it's very important to have those days and to rest up and to listen to your body really and just do what you can do. So first of all, what it's like living with a chronic illness. I've had to accept that I have limitations, just like I was just saying. I have to accept that sometimes I'm gonna miss out on things. I'm not gonna be able to do every single day, every single thing. And when we're on vacation, I'm not gonna be able to go. I'm gonna need to take a few days to rest in between the going. You know, I need a day of going and then a day of rest, a day of going and then a day of rest. And that is simply because I don't have the energy, because I'm not getting enough nutrients, because I'm constantly getting sick and not keeping down enough food. So for me, I really get tired and I really get fatigued very quickly. So if we have a big day, like we just got back from Idaho, when we had a big day in Idaho, we went on the river, we went to the rodeo, I was exhausted the next day and I needed that day to recoup so that then I could go on and have some more fun the next day. So that is the kind of things that I have to do. I'm obviously not going out and running a marathon, but it is, you know, sometimes walking small distances works for me. Sometimes, but I do usually get winded very quickly. I am getting a little bit more used to it now that I'm working, because as a hostess, I'm walking back and forth in the restaurant all the time, and it's just getting me a little bit more used to physical activity, and so that's really great for me. I'm hopefully going to get a little bit stronger in my body and be able to do a little bit more by just doing little by little what I can now. So I also try not to get envious of others that are not dealing with an illness. It's very easy to get, jealous of people that are living their life and not feeling as sick as you are. It's very hard not to look at the person in the grocery store ahead of you and think they feel fine and I feel like crap, and instead of doing, I know this sounds corny, but instead of feeling like that, I have tried to flip it around in my head and just start to feel happy for people for not feeling sick. And as much as that was hard for me, it definitely had to fake it a few times and make my mind feel like I really was happy when I really wasn't happy for someone that wasn't feeling well. Because on my hardest days, it's very hard to be happy for other people for not being sick. But as I started to do that, and as I started to say that I'm happy for them for not being sick, I'm happy for them for not being sick, I started to truly believe it. So I think that if it's okay to pretend in the beginning, you will eventually get those feelings and you will eventually make a habit of it, so that way you don't let yourself feel those feelings, because they just can be so depressing and so stressful, and it's so frustrating to think those kinds of things because everyone else does not feel the way that you do. And it's like the majority of people are going to be better than you, and you can't just always be hateful towards people that are better than you because they are not sick. That's not something that I want to do. That's not the kind of person that I want to be. So I try to be as positive as I can to people. I'm also learning to live around my disease. Now, I use quotes because that's just something that I say. I live around it instead of in it. I try to just do as much as I can when I feel good. And I've also started just going when I don't feel good as well. Like if I have something fun planned and it's something that I really don't want to miss, I just go. I've started carrying around a little baggie with me, and I carry around my nausea medication. I have a little baggie that holds a bag for me to get sick. It holds my nausea medication, it holds some gum, it holds some mints, and it holds some tissues. And I take that everywhere with me now. And that way I don't have to miss out on all the things that I was missing out on before. Because for a long while, I was just sitting at home and feeling sick and feeling sorry for myself and being sad. And one day I just realized this isn't a life. This isn't how I want to live. If I am sick, even if it is something terrible, I need to get out and live life. I mean, it wasn't in existence, and it was just making me feel worse. And I can honestly tell you that by getting out and just doing a few things, I actually started to feel a little bit better mentally, definitely mentally. And I feel like almost a little bit physically. As I got a little stronger, I think it made me feel a little better. So as I started doing more and gaining a little bit of confidence in it and learning how to deal with it and, really listening to my body and feeling when I started to not feel so good, I'd go and I'd sit down. I really have to listen to my body. But as I started to do that, things started to get easier and it started to be so nice and so fun to be out. So then I just kept doing it. And now that's what I'm doing. I'm living around my disease. So the days that I really just can't do it, or I'll try to go places and I figure if I need to, I can always Uber home. I can always drive my own car. There's ways around it so that I can still go and have a little bit of fun and, not miss out on everything, but still manage to definitely take care of myself and get the rest that I need, because having a chronic illness, no matter what it is, you do need a lot of rest. So how I cope with this, how I deal with stress is pretty simple, pretty standard, same as everybody else probably. I do guided meditations. I will list a few of my favorite apps for those down below in the description box. I also do deep breathing with visualization. I like taking some deep breaths and thinking of a beautiful place or my favorite thing or my favorite food or my dog. I try to think of something really positive in my life for a few minutes, and it usually takes away those stressful thoughts or painful emotions that you're feeling. I also like to write in a journal. I find that keeping gratitude lists help. I did mention that a little bit more in my How I Cope with My Depression video in my playlist. I also listen to maybe my favorite music, but I make sure that it's soothing music. I don't put on like hard rock if I'm trying to calm myself down. I do attend individual therapy, and that is for something separate, but I do find that when you're going to therapy, talking to a third person, and especially an impartial third person about your illness, really does help. It really does take away some of the scariness, and being able to vent to a third party where you're not scaring your family with how you're feeling, or constantly talking about your illness to the people around you. It's easy to go and talk to a third party because they're not having to hear about it all the time. They're impartial, and there's someone who wants to help you. So I go to therapy. I really like it. I found that it has helped me through this. I also have had to develop adaptability, which is how, like, if I'm going to go someplace, I'm probably going to drive my own car. If not, I'm definitely going to make sure that I have a way to Uber or get a taxi or some way to get home, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay out at some place for the whole time, because sometimes the sickness just keeps coming and I have to get home. It's just sometimes what has to happen. So I have to develop adaptability. I have to be able to be out someplace and change something. Now at work, that's a little tricky, but I have found that I just carry in my little bag, and then it's very easy to excuse myself to the restroom. They're very nice about the breaks that I need. They're very understanding. I don't really take very many breaks. There are only 6-hour shifts there, so I'm usually okay. Sorry, my mouth is getting really dry. Yeah, so I'm usually okay for my 6-hour shifts. But if they were longer, then I would probably need some breaks. But I really don't need breaks, and everything I've been doing pretty good. And I have had my first 2 shifts. Work is going really good, guys. Let's see. I've taken responsibility of my own care. And what I mean by that is not like I'm doing any of my own diagnosing or anything like that. I just mean that I've started listening to my body and writing down the changes that it's making. Like if anything changes, I make sure to keep a track of that, because I am the only one that knows what I'm feeling. I also, I think home monitoring helps, because you can kind of catch big things before they get into really big things, or you can catch something that's kind of problematic before it turns into a huge issue. So I do like that. I also make sure that all of my doctors are talking to one another. I make sure that they are all talking to one another so that they each know what tests I've taken, what the results are. Because if you don't, then you could be doing repetitive tests, and they could also be missing a diagnosis that another doctor has maybe found something that they oh, that's the smoking gun, I guess you could say, to the illness that I have. Maybe they have that, and so I like them all to talk. I need them all to talk. I need it to be an incorporated little group that are helping me, so I definitely make sure that they all talk to one another, and I have to make sure personally that all the records are sent to all the different offices. That's something that you can do. You can call your doctors and have them send your records over to the different offices so that they each have a copy of each other's notes. That's very important in my case, because I have so many different specialists and so many different doctors that I'm dealing with, because we don't know what's wrong. So I'm just being sent to different specialists almost once a month. And so it's just gotten overwhelming. And so I have to take control of that, or I don't think any of them would know, or I would know what was going on. So I just find that keeping control of that also makes me feel a little bit more in control of the sickness and of how I'm feeling. I also looked for and found open doors. Now, what I mean by open doors, and why I'm putting it in quotes again, sorry, those are annoying, is because it's just finding something that you can do despite your limitations. Okay, so this sickness has kicked my butt. It's came in and it's completely disrupted my life. It has changed life as I know it. However, because of that, I realized that I'm home all the time. So I can take classes on Zoom. So I went back to school. I realized that I could start the YouTube channel that I always wanted to do, but I was too scared to do. Why not give that a chance now that you're home all the time and you have time to film videos? So taking the steps to do something that, maybe I was excited about and always wanted to do, but didn't think that I was able to do because I was constantly working and needed to be out there and making money. And, when life slapped me in the face and I could not go out and work and I couldn't do anything, and I moved in to help take care of my grandmother, and everything changed. I needed something that was mine, and I finally found that. And so that's what I mean by finding your own open door. Find yourself something that will make you feel better. That's what I've done, and it has truly and honestly really helped. Now, just a few basics. Obviously, I try to eat a healthy, balanced diet. That's very difficult for me because of being sick so much. So I take supplements, and I also do protein replacement shakes, bars. I drink Ensure, Pedialyte, you name it. I probably drink it or take it. All of that has been approved by my doctors. I don't do anything without approval. I don't think that that is very wise. So I definitely ask my doctor before I take anything else into my body. I want to make sure that it's going to work with everything that I'm already taking for my actual sickness. I also make sure to get regular, sorry, once more. I also try to get regular physical activity. Now for me, this is not the same as it's going to be for anyone that's healthy. I can't get out there and exercise for an hour. There is no way that I would make it. However, I do like yoga, a beginner's yoga class for about 10 minutes I can take. I can do stretching for longer than that because it's not as exerting. So I can do like a stretching, a guided stretching exercise video on YouTube, and I can do that for like 45 minutes, and that's just relaxing and nice. I like to do that before bed, and I also like to do that first thing in the morning because it really sets the day, you know, for good intentions. It really sets it for a good pace, I guess. I really like doing that in the mornings. I also make sure to get enough rest. It's hard to feel good when you're exhausted. There's no way else to put it. It's hard to feel good when you're tired. So if you get enough rest, you're gonna feel a little bit better. One tiny silly thing that you guys could do right now to reduce stress for anything, not just being chronically ill. However, this does specifically kind of relate to chronic illness, but it could be for any pain or suffering that one might be going through. So what you can do is try this for 15 minutes as needed whenever you want to. So you're gonna put on your favorite calming music. You're gonna sit back or lie back and relax. You're gonna close your eyes. You're going to imagine the pain or discomfort that you're feeling. And then you're going to imagine something that confronts that pain or discomfort and then destroys it. So you can imagine a superhero just beating the shit out of it. You can imagine a warrior, you know, coming and taking it down. You can imagine a tornado coming and sweeping it away. You can imagine whatever you want. I know that it sounds silly, but it really does work, and it really does take your mind out of that pain and gets it a little bit out of there, and allows you to kind of come out the other side a little bit, and it just makes it a lot easier to deal with. So those are my tips on how to deal with the chronic illness, and that's the information about what I'm going through right now. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was a long one. I appreciate those of you that stuck through it, and I will talk to all of you very, very soon. And until I see you again, take care.